Okay, we do have some great content to get through today, so I am going to get us started. We do also have really a lot of participants already on the call. Yes, my name is Greg Banneker. I work here at Mapbox, and I'll be the host, but our presenter for today's session, understanding the Mapbox Standard style, is Jonathan Critchley, map designer, and I'll let him introduce himself once we really get rolling. But before we do, I just wanted to go over just a couple of housekeeping items. So our session is being recorded and it will be available via that Zoom lobby, Zoom interface. If you go to mapbox.com/build, it will be available after the build event with all of the recordings and available to all registrants. Additionally, captions are available in multiple languages. There are, while there's not a way to like actively raise a hand during the session, you can submit questions through the Zoom Q&A feature, and the Q&A should be in your Zoom menu bar, just labeled Q&A. So if you do have a question, try to respond right there in the Q&A as opposed to the chat. I'll be looking at questions, answering real time, and then we'll also be passing to Jonathan at the end of the session for questions. So I'll be looking in that Q&A box first. So use the Q&A box if you do have any questions, and that'll just make things go smoothly for you. And then finally, I did already say this, but I just want to reiterate one more time. We have 60 sessions for Build this year. I'm very developer focused. And if you want to know which ones are coming up or even which ones have already happened, mapbox.com/build. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Jonathan for the main event. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thanks, Greg. And welcome everyone. Yeah, Jonathan Critchley, and I'm a map designer at Mapbox. And we're going to be talking about the Mapbox standard style today. This style has been available since 2023 as our default Mapbox style and has received ongoing updates and improvements since, many of which we'll be exploring today. With the style, we set out to use 3D environments and dynamic lighting to create a more immersive map that is simple, legible, and configurable at runtime. It's more than just a map style, it's a platform for highly engaging and immersive map experiences that adapt to user needs, from improving in-vehicle navigation, enriching travel planning, informing last-mile logistics, and so much more. The style employs symbolic realism, a stylistic paradigm that balances realistic representation with purposeful abstraction. This approach aims to create a world representation that is both recognizable and immersive without being photorealistic. By prioritizing essential information, this approach supports diverse use cases from intuitive navigation to insightful data visualization, providing a consistent and engaging user experience. Symbolic realism employs stylized, simplified models for buildings, terrain, and landmarks. The goal is to make these features immediately understandable and identifiable from a distance without adding distracting, unnecessary visual clutter. For example, Mapbox custom designed 3D landmarks capture the essence of a building's architecture without getting lost in minute, high polygon details or complex array of material textures. By simplifying the 3D models and textures, symbolic realism allows for a highly performant map. It uses mesh attributes with surface parts, but without baking in lighting or complex material maps, which would otherwise result in massive file size and slow rendering. The style uses a global lighting and shadow model to create a really realistic sense of depth and time, reacting to different times of day. This approach enhances the user experience by mimicking reality without compromising data clarity. Having layers and styling directly react to lighting in the style also reduces the maintenance burden of multiple different styles for day versus night, which many of our customers typically used. As anyone who knows, anyone that's had to do it knows, maintaining a base map is a lot of work. They're typically made up of hundreds of layers. Standard allows us to introduce complex, best-in-class 3D mapping with a full range of lighting conditions, detailed landmarks, and advanced label rendering all while abstracting that complexity from the end user. So some of the core features available with the standard style include easy switching between immersive 3D and lighter 2D maps. You can turn off 3D models for performance or specific design needs, as well as transitioning to flat features when the map is not pitched. We've discussed dynamic lighting, but this allows adjusting the visual design of the style, helping with contrast and intensity, and featuring specific design changes like floodlights without a need for multiple styles. And most importantly, the focus is adding your own data. It's intended to be seamless, allowing you to place all of your focus on making your custom data shine. So a core feature of the standard style is helping reduce maintenance burden of keeping the style up to date by automatically updating your map's appearance with the latest base map designs. Previously, our styles required users to manually intervene and run complex migrations, which we actually found many users were not doing. As new design features are introduced in the SDK and the base map, your style will inherently incorporate these updates without requiring manual intervention in the style setup. The features range from data updates, default styling tweaks that map designers make, as well as new configuration options. And the standard style appearance is controlled by these configuration options, which modify key aspects of how layers are rendered and the overall look and feel of the style. These configurations can be set when importing the style or changed at runtime, bringing the power of base map customization to the client. The basic example of this is allowing for dynamic changes, such as adjusting lighting based on time of day, toggling visibility of specific labels and points of interest, as well as themes for different modes that you might have in your application. Wanted to sort of run through some of the most recent changes to the standard style, just to sort of highlight the direction the base map is taking, and just sort of raise awareness of these latest features. So one of those is making it the most flexible and customizable 3D base map available by providing more map feature color configurations. Map builders now have precise color control over the styling of land, water, and administrative boundaries. With the standard style, it's possible to match layer styling to brand guidelines or to serve a specific use case, with the ability to adjust one config that updates multiple layers in the base map. There are also now more options to style map labels. It's possible to instantly change the color for all place labels and road labels, as well as adjust the styling of point of interest icons, adjusting backgrounds and colors. So these aren't things that you can just adjust in Studio, but are available at runtime. So this allows you to adapt your style on the fly for specific use cases. The standard style also now includes a set of stylized landmark icons that complement this specialty 3D landmarks within the map style. There are over 1,600 landmarks or icons already available, spanning over 40 global cities, and there are many more cities added each month. The landmark icons appear at low zoom levels when viewing an overview of a city or neighborhood, transitioning into the 3D landmark models, which appear at high zoom levels. The icons improve user orientation and wayfinding, and also add a premium design element that delights users immediately upon map load. The landmark icons are turned off by default, but they can be toggled on and off in runtime. We've also recently enhanced land cover details like desert, forests, and rocky terrain. At low zoom levels, it's now much easier to distinguish between terrain types, improving usability for off-roading, traveling, hiking, and fitness applications. So as you can see, there are many different updates and changes that we've made to this base map that just sort of seamlessly update over time without users having to intervene. One of the things I wanted to highlight are the great resources for you to discover configuration options as we expand the list that's available. So going to jump over to one great resource, which is the Mapbox Standard Style Playground, which our developer relation team has put together. On the left-hand side, you can see a UI that allows controlling different available configurations. And then on the right-hand side are really helpful snippets of front-end code that updates based on the configs you've modified. This code helps you initialize the map, setting different values for the default from the defaults. The implementation code is platform specific. However, we do have different examples available based on web, iOS, and Android. So you could go into Studio and set up your own copy of the standard style and modify these. Or alternatively, you can just import the standard style directly into your application and set these desired customization in your code. It's worth emphasizing that these can all be modified in runtime as well, not just on initialization. So it's really powerful if you find yourself maintaining multiple map styles for different modes. A single style can be customized during runtime to fit different use cases in the same application. And one great example of that is themes, where you can switch between the default styling that you see on screen right now to monochrome. And that monochrome works with the light preset model. So our day and night, but then we also have the in-between states, dawn, dusk, night. And as I'm modifying this, you can see on the right-hand side, the front-end code example updates. I've selected dawn and monochrome. Another thing is enabling things like landmark icons. So as we zoom in, you can see these new icons that have appeared. So this is one way that you could default these icons to appear when your application loads. Another great resource from our docs team is the Mapbox Standard Guide. It's the primary resource available to learn about features in the standard style, walking through different topics and providing code snippets like how to update configs at runtime. So we sort of looked at the playground, which provides examples on how you would set that on initial load, but then there's also great examples and resources for how you would also then set these during runtime in really sort of as a result of another behavior or action. You can also use this page to find API reference page, which provides a comprehensive overview of all the style configuration options available in the standard style. This is a constantly growing list with ongoing exciting new ways to customize the standard style. We're frequently adding new things, so it's worth checking back after release to see what is new. The one requirement to receive the latest update in the style is to update the Mapbox SDK version in your application. So we have conveniently listed the SDK versions that are required for each configuration in this compatibility column on the right-hand side. So beyond introducing a beautiful 3D base map, a significant benefit of the standard style is that it also reduces the technical burden and cartographic expertise needed to maintain a style. The result is a streamlined and more efficient way of building maps. The base map delivers a consistently up-to-date visual canvas for building your map application. And it contains all the elements that you'd expect to see on a map, like natural features, roads, buildings, and points of interest. It has a compelling contemporary design kept fresh by Mapbox cartographers with an improved interface for adding your own location experience to the base map. So as you can see in the diagram, you get all of these different layers maintained by us at Mapbox, and then your own custom data that seamlessly inserts in between using the slot system. Your application likely doesn't just require base map, so a core experience of the standard style is importing and maintaining your own custom layers. We put a lot of effort into making that seamless and straightforward to maintain with this slot system. So it's worth diving a bit deeper into the slot system. As I mentioned, they are well-defined placeholders within the base map with optimized places for adding your custom data. Previously, you had to look through a list of 120 plus layers and decide exactly where your custom layers should be placed. If you use runtime styling to dynamically add new layers in your application, it was even more complicated, having to sync updates to your application code with style updates. Uh, it was possible that reference layers were renamed or removed. So if you were not careful, it could break the implementation when you updated the base map. So with slots, you place the layer in the correct position directly in your style and no longer have to worry about this. By abstracting the core layers, as a Mapbox, we gain the flexibility to optimize, refactor, and evolve the map's underlying structure without fear of breaking user styles. So it's a great benefit for everyone. And this primarily allows us to iterate faster and deliver improvements more consistently. The standard style does represent a bit of a paradigm change in how users are used to maintaining their styles. One of the main areas is theming and adjusting colors to match branding. While we have expanded the list of color customization configurations, we felt it was not as simple as just providing them for all layers. So our developers added support for completely custom color themes through the use of something called lookup tables, or LUTs. And LUTs are a powerful data structure used in industries like digital image and film processing to rapidly transform colors of images and film. And it turns out it's possible to achieve great results with map styling as well. So with LUTs, you can easily adjust the overall color tone of the base map by creating and applying color themes that better align with the aesthetics of your existing map and application. And we use LUTs to create the monochrome themes in the base map. And we had such great success with that that we've exposed those to customers. And what you see on the screen, the different themes that are sort of scrolling through, were generated by just adjusting the hue and saturation of the base map style. So this provides a single method to touch on all base map layers and dramatically adjust the style, how the styling looks. Another pain point that we know from developers has been setting up interaction with map features. So with the standard style, we've created predefined ways to interact with certain map layers, like place labels and building extrusions. We've built in feature states for certain layers in the style to provide predefined ways to style features based on different interactions. And on the screen currently, examples can be seen adjusting label colors on hover and then also when you click. So while the standard style focuses on providing a rich 3D base map, it introduces new challenges for you to consider how to integrate your data. While not specific to the standard style, there are a number of style properties that have been added to make working with 3D easier. One option is icon and text occlusion opacity, which allows dynamically adjusting the transparency of icons to represent how they appear behind other features in the style. Alternative to this is for them to appear on top or completely disappear, which may be confusing to the end user. So using this, you can ground your custom layers better in the 3D environment. There's also a line occlusion opacity property available for the same purpose. And this allows you to set the exact transparency of line layers and making them discoverable in the 3D environment. One last option I wanted to mention is the clip layer, which allows you to remove features from the base map. You can choose to hide 3D models, buildings, or symbol layers within a custom polygon area, which can be useful for hiding base map features to place your own custom layers, model layer, for example. So here you can see the default on the left, a custom polygon area that's being defined to remove those features. And on the right-hand side, this allows you to remove those features from the base map and replace it with a custom layer. One thing just wanted to also show, use cases of the standard style. This how it all ties together in seamlessly in an application. So some examples of the layer interactions is being able to, one example, for example, like one use case, for example, is being able to highlight place labels like a city label, set up an interaction to highlight city boundaries, as well as more local neighborhood boundaries. And then seamlessly being able to interact with other elements like buildings. So a subtle color shift on hover, and then on selection, being able to highlight the building. And this really shines when you sort of start to combine with things like loops. So a similar example of having applied a dramatically different theme, and then also integrating these interactions like selection and hover. So as you can see, the standard style provides a wealth of options for your mapping needs. I hope this session was helpful to shine some light on various opportunities you can take advantage of. This session has focused primarily on features of the style and runtime styling, but I encourage you to also join my colleagues later this week in their sessions exploring customization of standard in Studio.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. We do have some questions, but I also wanted to address a couple things that happened in the chat, and then Jonathan, I'll throw you a couple questions. So, um, Pavel did say, I would like to be able to take a standard Mapbox map and have full control over all layers in it. And Pavel, this is something we hear sometimes from our customers. When we set out, Jonathan kind of addressed this already, but when we set out to create Mapbox Standard, one of the major benefits is that when we release something new into the style, like new 3D custom design landmarks, new landmark icons, the ability to work with interactivity, etc., a lot of the things Jonathan covered. When we release something new, it becomes automatically available in the style. So you don't have to do a manual style update. It takes little to no work on your end to start capitalizing on the latest and greatest features. In order to achieve this, we had to pull back a little bit on full design and customization control of the style. And we have heard feedback from our developers like yourself that you want that back. So with every new release of the style, we continue to add back in more customizability and more customization options while working to still maintain this idea and paradigm of pushing updates to the style so you can have it automatically. So all that is a lot to say. If you have something that like a customization or a control, something specific that you do want in your style, please reach out to your account manager if you have one, or you could use the link to contact us on our website. If you have a support team member who you contact, and let us know because we consistently take that feedback and work to add this customizability into the style. Yeah, I see. I see what you're saying, Pablo. Yeah, reach out to your contact at Mapbox. Okay, I'm gonna go through something. This is kind of broad, Jonathan, and you did cover this to an extent, but I want to know if you have any other details, and if not, I can also add some color to this as well. No pun intended. Um, uh, Roselle wanted to know where can you read about the research that influenced a lot of our design decisions? And I actually posted some blog posts directly to Roselle, which I'll also post in the chat while you answer this. But I was wondering if could you go a little deeper into like why we chose symbolic realism and like what symbolic realism means versus like something like photorealism?
Yeah, I think it's a balance. This style is our primary style that we are maintaining and developing, and it's used for many different applications. So it's not super easy to develop a style that's perfect for all applications, especially if you're focusing on photorealism. So it's a balance right now, what we're trying to achieve with not having everything, one-to-one detail. We understand users are overlaying their own custom layers and integrating, their own custom experiences. So it's trying to provide sort of a base map artboard that works across multiple different use cases. But also to emphasize, I think there's a great blog post by Owen that sort of really does dive into some of these choices that we've made that's available in the blog.
Yeah, and I worked with Owen pretty closely on that blog. So some of the major reasons that symbolic realism was chosen, and Jonathan did hit on a few of these, but um, number one, a 3D base map can get really cluttered because the 3D buildings, roads, the landmarks, it's a lot of visual information to be on the map. And so as you start to add all those features, you really risk taking away from the custom data that you, our customer, want to bring to the map. And so that was like a major decision point for us was what is this 3D base map for? And that's really we want it to be a base map to showcase your custom data. So we really aim to like pack it and make it feature rich while like reducing the visual clutter as much as possible so that when you want to bring like icons for your scooter rentals or you want to put your real estate listings on it, it's just a base map where your custom data can shine and not a base map that takes away from your custom data. The second thing that was huge is that a symbolic map is customizable. And now we do hear that our customers want even more customization, but something like a photorealistic map, which is essentially a photograph of the world, like in tile form, it's a lot harder to customize color. It's a lot harder to even customize like night versus day, but something symbolic can be really customized via color and lookup tables in a way that a photorealistic map can't. And then another huge benefit of something symbolic is that it is easier to keep the underlying data updated and reflected on the map. So a photorealistic map relies on photos of the world. So the photos need to be recent. And of course, we know that it is also possible to take, essentially recent photography of all of the world. But with our our symbolic realistic design, we can update the underlying base map data whenever that comes in and procedurally reflect that, across the entire base map, across the entire globe, and potentially reflect changes to road networks or buildings in a way that's faster than a photorealistic base map could. Um, okay. Did you have anything that we have more questions coming in, but anything to add to that, Jonathan?
No, I think that's a great summary of it's definitely a balance.
Okay, cool. Um, Next question. This is from Derek. I have a more of a 2D usage, so use case for one client. Earlier, you indicated that standard could still be used, but in a 2D use case. So how do we do that?
Great question. So we do have a 3D objects configuration available through the style, and this does disable all 3D models, some of the lighting effects like shadows. So it is a more lightweight style, but it's one of the configurations that is available through the what I demonstrated. So it could be set, when on application load, but it can also be toggled in runtime between the 3D mode and the 2D mode. Um,
Yeah, and Derek, if you go into Mapbox Studio and you open up a style, and the 3D style will open up by default if you use Studio. If you go in there, the toggle is very clear. Yeah. Um, to turn on or off 3D objects. And this is the playground that Jonathan is showing right now, and then the Mapbox Studio interface is not exactly the same as this, but similar. Okay, next question. And Jonathan, if you don't have the answers to these, I will document all these questions, and we will, we have the name of the people who are asking them, so we can follow up after the event. So Jeff asks, I want to use standard style, but I have 100 SVG images. Do you know how Jeff can add these SVG images to the standard style?
Um, so if they are SVGs, they can be imported in Studio. There is 1,000, I believe, limit, like 1,000 SVG limit per style. But if you're, I believe we have great documentation for Studio. You can look at loading the custom imagery. Yeah, it would depend on your. Nice thing with a standard style is your custom layers layer, on top of or integrated directly with other layers. But you could, based on how your data is set up, then reference all of those different icons.
Okay, excellent. Here's another question. I'm gonna give you your out again, Jonathan, if this is just not the time and place. But Rafa did ask if you have any best practices for creating your own models. So I suppose creating your own models and then using the clip layer to bring your models onto the base map.
Yeah, unfortunately, not something that I have much experience with. I know that we do have sort of limited support for custom model layers, and they will react to things like changes in the base map lighting. But I'm not quite sure the requirements of the formats, and it's not something that you can do in Studio. Unfortunately, it is something that you would do at runtime.
Okay, I will say, Rafa, and I believe Marina already kind of responded in the chat here, but we will have a session about customizing Mapbox Standard later in build. I believe it's on Wednesday, but don't quote me specifically on that. Um, but go to the build lobby, find the session called Customizing Mapbox Standard, and that may be a better time to ask that question about custom models. All right, Jonathan, another one. Can you omit unused layers in Mapbox Standard to make a smaller file size and data transfer of the files?
Unfortunately, no. The main option you do have is between 2D and 3D, which the 2D style would be more lightweight, just because it does disable some of the 3D rendering effects. But the underlying sort of map data would be the same. We use Streets V8 tile set, so that's a bundling of multiple different layers, and everything essentially in that tile set gets loaded in the application. Um, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then Jonathan, you asked about versioning for line occlusion opacity and clip layer. You are on GLJS, yes, GLJS v3, and I see the specific version that you're on, and it should be available. I'll find the exact versioning and make sure that we get you that answer, but I do believe you should be able to use line occlusion opacity and clip layer. But if not, I will definitely get you the specific versions that you need to be on. Okay. I would say that that is all the questions I've gotten. I guess I'll leave it open for 2 more minutes to see if there are any other questions that come in. Again, we appreciate all the questions that have already been answered. While we wait to see if anything else comes in, I do want to plug a couple other sessions. So one thing that Jonathan already covered is that standard was really one major motivation for us designing standard was to make map making as simple as possible. And we do know that, map making at times can be very complicated. A lot of our customers have very advanced and robust use cases, but if we can simplify map making, we also view that as a win. And so Standard, in one sense, was born from that with the automatic updates and the slots for adding your custom data. We do have a couple sessions tomorrow and then a session on on Wednesday, about basically simplifying map making. So one of the sessions tomorrow is called Make a Map in Minutes. And one major premise of that is kind of picking up Mapbox Standard from Studio or pointing to the endpoint in your code, and then kind of working from there, and all the simplified ways we've designed to edit the map and add interactions and add things that make the map more engaging. So that session tomorrow will be Make a Map in Minutes. And then after that, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to actually be demoing a lot of what we talked about in Make a Map in Minutes. And that session is called Streamlining Map Making Part 1. And then on Wednesday, we're actually going to have Streamlining Map Making Part 2. So a lot of what Jonathan talked about today, we're going to sort of show in action tomorrow with Mapbox Standard. Okay. Well, actually, we do have another one that came in. Um, Jonathan, can I remove a label or line from the layer map?
This is something that's directly in the so symbols essentially are like yeah the label layers. So the clip layer would allow you to do that. Unfortunately, line layers are not something that can be clipped out. You are able to add in custom layers. So based on the different, like the three different slots that we have, it is possible to use like overlays to hide or collide with certain labels. So there are some workarounds to being able to customize, but it's not possible to just sort of like select a specific label and filter it out.
Okay, yeah, and then I do also want to say, if we're talking about like a very simple level, right, John, then there is the way to in Studio, and of course always in your code as well, but in Studio there are several toggles for like just removing a street label or removing a POI label or a building label. So if you go into Studio and start a new style, it will by default open that up with Mapbox Standard, and you can just check out those customizability toggles to yeah, remove there's many options to remove labels or even line boundaries, etc.
Yeah, there are certain configs that we've set up that interact with like boundaries or, as Greg mentioned, like POI labels and that. So if you don't want to work with our sort of default POI labels in the base map, you can disable all features in that layer and then add in your own custom layer.
All right. So with that, we're gonna wrap this one up. And yeah, hopefully you found this useful, and we hope to see you on future sessions. Thank you.